Hello everybody, this is Tip Top MTG here today with another Magic the Gathering video. In today's video, we are going to be taking a look at Challenger Decks 2021. So a little bit earlier, I believe this week or last week, we kind of got a leak that Challenger decks were coming out fairly soon, and that was pretty much to be expected based on their usual release cadence. However, we have the announcement today, which features some new news on what the packages are going to look like, as well as what themes are going to be in there. So for those of you who don't know what a Challenger deck is, it's essentially a standard ready or standard competitive 60 card deck and 15 card sideboard that you can just pick up and be able to basically just play Magic out of the box. It's one of my personal favorite products because, in my opinion, if your game doesn't have something that you can just walk up to the store, buy one thing, and just start playing, you lose a little bit there, especially for newer players. So I think it is a very, very awesome product. Now, one thing I am going to talk about is that they are now in new packaging. So you can see it right here in this thumbnail. And this is to reduce the amount of plastic being used. So there's very minimal plastic. And in the video, it is said that essentially, going forward, they're planning on reducing as much plastic that is being used as possible from all of their products. So yeah, keep that in mind, that there's probably gonna be a lot of packaging changes coming soon. It also comes with a brand new deck box, which in my opinion works significantly better than the old one. And so yeah, if you are going to use, for instance, their deck box, it is going to be a significant upgrade. Couple disappointing things before we jump into the decks. There are no MTG arena codes. No idea why. Honestly, that would be such a good selling point. Buy this. You can play it in paper. You can play it on arena, and you have a competitive deck. But whatever. I just think that would have been a really great thing to do, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So yeah. Either way, we have Azarias Control being the first one. This one is probably the least relevant now. I think that this was probably something that was like conceived of back when Dream Trawler was the big deck. So I'm assuming that's when these were starting to really be developed, or at least the starting of it, because I really don't see this being played too much. However, it is nice to get some more reprints of Shark Typhoon, some Elspeth Conquers Death. Doomscar is going to be a nice addition into here. So yeah, just some nice cards to be reprinted. Of course, the mana base is actually running 4 Temples of Enlightenment, which I thought was really surprising. They don't generally put 4 of the rare dual lands. Of course, we're running Tranquil Cove, which if you do pick up this deck, you probably want to upgrade either into a Triome or maybe a Pathway. But other than that, yeah, this is pretty decent. If we look at also the sideboard, we have another Archon of Sun's Grace. So honestly, if you're like looking at this kind of deck, it's not a bad backbone. We also got some Skyclave Apparitions. This is a very interesting deck. I'm not a huge fan of the like one of Saw It Coming, one of Negate, especially because if your opponent knows that you only have one, I guess we have multiple foretile cards here, but I would have rather seen like maybe 2 Negates, and then you could put 2 Saw It Comings in the sideboard or something. But yeah, this very much seems like a Theros era deck that they were like, okay, let's also throw a Marius Call, because that really doesn't see too much play, and Doomscar, and a couple of the more obvious cards. But yeah, generally, Azorius Control is one of the decks. It also comes with these double-sided tokens, so keep that in mind. Then we have Damir Rogues, everyone's favorite deck. Looking at how it's constructed, we do have the 4 Thieves Guild Enforcers, which are some of the most important parts. And then we also have the 4 Soaring Thought Thieves, which are also pretty big here. Honestly, this is doing pretty well, especially when you consider there are 3 Xerath Sand, which you might argue is the right amount, just because of the legendariness. Nighthawk Scavenger is a nice addition. Vantress Gargoyle really doesn't see play, but I definitely see why it's in the deck. So generally, this is pretty good. If I were to recommend upgrades to this deck, because I'm going to give my thoughts on these. This one seems like it needs a lot more work. You need a little bit more consistency here. Are you doing Banishing Lights? Just add more of them. Maybe you don't include all of this. You need some more Dark Typhoons. This one I feel like is a lot more playable right off the bat. I love the 2 Eliminate 2 Heartless Axe. I'm not a huge fan of the Malika Rebirth, but I do know people run it. Drown in the Lock is a great addition. And again, very similar mana base here. Yeah. So what I really like about this is that it is very, not free of upgrades, but like, you know, there are less things I would upgrade. For instance, I might take out one or two or all three Vantress Gargoyles to put in maybe an extra Nighthawk Scavenger and maybe 2 Rankles. Those are little upgrades, but I think Vantress Gargoyle can do a lot of work here. So there are very few things. I might get rid of Malakir Rebirth in exchange for like another Heartless Act, but those are really small, replacing an uncommon for another uncommon. They have all of the cards that are really needed, save maybe some Rankles here. The Soaring Thought Thieves, the Thieves Guild Enforcers are really the core of the deck right here. And going into the sideboard, nothing super amazing here. Pestilent Haze I enjoy. But yeah, it is definitely a lot more consistent, although I may do a little bit of upgrading. But again, this one seems a lot less like it needs upgrades compared to something like this, which makes sense because you are definitely trying to play those big cards. Like, if I was running this deck, I would probably want 4 Dream Trawlers. So yeah, I would say if you are looking to buy one of these and not upgrade it, you are better off doing Damir Rogues. Then again, I don't want to encourage you to play Damir Rogues. So next we have Mono Red Aggro. So we have 4 Fervent Champions. Amazing, great. We'll lower the cost of them is needed. Kargan Intimidator, again, is fine. Bonecrusher Giant, 4 of those is really nice to see. Torbrand, 3 of those. Akulum Hellhound, yeah, pretty good. Rimrock Knight, Annex Hardened in the Forge, Shadow Soul Smashing. Honestly, okay, if we look through here, saving the fact that this only has a 1 Embercleave, this is almost exactly a standard deck, and we've seen this in the past. I believe Mono Red has been it 3 times, and most of the time, it is pretty much just the standard deck. The last 2 times, it has been minus enough Embercleaves. So if I was like taking this deck and upgrading it, I would probably get rid of these Royal Eruptions, just because I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd rather have something instant speed. Get rid of that, maybe replace it with a board wipe, or probably not because you're in Mono Red Aggro, but I might get rid of like one or 2 of these, upgrade the Embercleaves, upgrade these to some other better removal, and then you pretty much have a mono red deck. I mean, you maybe move some things around, maybe get rid of one of the annexes because they're legendary, but honestly, I think this is probably, out of the ones we've seen, the best deck out of the box. I would say you could play this, and I don't think people would notice that it is a deck. Like here, I think people would be like, some of your cards are a little weird, but looking at the cards, looking at the like sideboard even, pretty good. We have some Relic Robbers here, just really interesting. Roiling Vortex is a great sideboard card, so I just generally think that deck is really good. The last one we have is Mono Green Stompy, and the first thing I want you to look at is that this is a mono green deck that only has 19 forests. Now, it's a little bit misleading here with Turn Timber Symbiosis, and are there any other modal double face cards? Not really, which honestly surprises me because they don't have other ramp in here. Like, I would understand running lesser lands if you were running ramp, but I feel like for a mono green, kind of aggro-y big stuff, you'd want maybe more than 21 lands, and that's 21 assuming you're playing Turn Timber Symbiosis as lands. Either way, I start to dislike a deck when you start getting into the 2-ofs. I think that this deck definitely needs some consolidation. For instance, I don't know how much Garruk is necessarily played. It's a nice little thing to throw in there, but I would rather they get rid of the Garruk, which, I mean, you can run Garruk, that's fine. But like maybe upgrade, like get more Gem Razors, maybe get more Yorvos. I think only having 2 Yorvos is a mistake in this deck. Scavenging Ooze is nice. I just think this deck is kind of all over the place. Also, I lied. There are more double face cards. So I guess the mana base hero is fine. But yeah, I don't think Sir Farron really fits in this deck. So I think this one does definitely require a little bit more work. For instance, I would throw in 4 Primal Mites, would maybe drop the Sir Farrons, and then maybe increase the Gem Razors. This just seems like it has a lot more work that needs to happen, but if it's your style, I definitely think it could still be a really good deck. If we look in the sideboard, we have some interesting cards, not ones that I would necessarily always play, but I do like the amount of removal here. Either way, those are the 4 decks. So we have Mono Green Stompy, Mono Red Rush, Azarias Control, and Damir Rogues, which I would say is pretty good. I would have kind of expected a ramp deck, but with the banning of Urok, he's already banned in Standard. What am I saying? Oh my gosh. With the upcoming banning, by the way, Monday, maybe we'll have something banned out of it, and we won't be able to, play that deck. Maybe the big ultimatums get banned or something. But generally, I think it's interesting. I like the new packaging. Overall, seems really good. I would have loved if they threw in a code, especially during the pandemic. But Yeah, I want to know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.